This is the mission history for the fourth week of July from Pastor James Huang. Today, we're diving into the powerful story of John Heron, a medical missionary whose very short life ended up forging an incredible, lasting legacy in Korea.
So let's start at the beginning. John Heron's journey doesn't actually begin in Korea. Nope. It starts thousands of miles away in England, setting in motion a story that would bridge continents and change a nation he would grow to deeply love.
So check out this timeline. He was born in England, right? But then his family moves to the US when he's a teenager. And it's while he's in medical school in Tennessee, of all places, that something happens. He feels this profound call that just completely changes the course of his life. It leads him to marry his wife, Harriet, and then get this, just a year later, they're on a boat heading for the Korean peninsula, or Joseon as it was called back then.
And these were the words he heard during prayer. I mean, can you imagine? Now that you are ready, go to the ends of the earth. That's a pretty clear message. It gave him this laser-focused direction. Take your skills, your new medical knowledge, and go. And his destination? A small nation in East Asia that was just beginning to open its doors to the rest of the world. Okay, so now he's in this new world, Joseon. And Dr. Heron? He hit the ground running. He didn't waste a single second. Right away, he became this absolutely essential person in bringing Western medicine to the country. And believe me, the need for it was just massive. And it didn't take long for him to step into some pretty big shoes. He took over from Dr. Horace Allen to become the second director of Jeju-won. Now, you have to understand, this wasn't just any hospital. Jeju-won was the first Western-style hospital in all of Korea, and it was a royal institution. So as the new head, Heron just poured his entire being into it, healing people, running the place, everything.
But then we get to the summer of 1890. This was supposed to be a time for rest, a chance for this small, really close-knit group of missionaries to connect. But what was meant to be a peaceful break, well, it took a very sudden and very tragic turn.
So picture this. You've got all the key players of the early missionary community, the Scrantons, the Appenzellers, the Underwoods, the Herons, James Gale, all gathered at this mountain fortress, Namhansansong, for a summer vacation. It starts out as this idyllic retreat, but it turns into a nightmare. Dr. Heron suddenly falls incredibly sick, and what was a vacation becomes this desperate race against time to get him back to Seoul.
But once they're back in Seoul, things just get worse. His condition deteriorates rapidly. And his friends, these fellow doctors like Dr. Allen and Dr. Scranton, they can only watch. They're totally helpless. You can feel the desperation in the air when his close friend James Gale asks, "Dr. Scranton, is there nothing we can do?" It's that moment of desperation that pushes Gale to do something drastic.
And what a journey it was. Just think about this for a second. Gale leaves his dying friend's bedside in Seoul and races back to the mountain fortress. Why? To get Heron's wife and 2 little girls. He travels all through the night, battling this insane downpour in total darkness. I mean, it's a frantic, harrowing trip, all for one reason: to bring Heron's family to him for one last goodbye.
So Gale makes it. The family is there. And when Heron sees his wife and his friends, what does he say? Even in all that pain, his first thoughts aren't about himself. He says, "I want to love Joseon and the Joseon people more fervently." It's just incredible. His heart was still with the people he came to serve. And he wasn't done yet. In what he knew were his last moments, he had one more request. He told them, "Call everyone, my friends from the hospital, the Koreans I know." He wanted to be surrounded by the local people he'd worked with and built relationships with. So they all come, they gather around his bed, and what happens next is just powerful. His last words aren't goodbye. They're a final sermon. He looks at them and says, "Thank you for loving and helping me. Believe in Jesus. Jesus loves you." He's using the very last bit of his strength, the last embers of his life, not for himself, but for one last act of sharing his faith.
Now, this incredibly tragic end, well, it turned out to be a new beginning. It actually forged a piece of history that you can still see today.
July 26, 1890. At just 34 years old, that's how young he was when his remarkable life of service came to an end.
And his death immediately created a huge problem. See, there was no official burial ground for foreigners in Seoul at the time. So what do? After a lot of struggle and negotiation, they finally secured a piece of land at a place called Yanghwajin. And John Heron, he became the very first person to be buried there.
Think about that. His death, his sacrifice, literally laid the groundwork for the entire story of Yang Huajin. This historic cemetery exists because of him. It became the final resting place for him and for hundreds of missionaries who came after him. It's a legacy of service, really, cemented by one final, profound sacrifice. Pastor James Huang, who served as a missionary in China, now ministers in Maryland, USA, and is a researcher of Korean mission history. He shares these stories weekly from his book, Remember and Repay, 52 Weeks of Mission Meditation.